This tiger is about to pour water into his mouth, but it still has no reaction. Pi was depressed. They had been on the sea for a few months. Finally, it was time for the end of life. He tried to support the tiger's head, leaning on his thigh, silently waiting for death to approach. Now please like, share, and follow to be able to know the movie's details. Everything started a few months ago. He was born in a normal family in India. Just because his name was homonymous with urination, his classmates often mocked him. Even the teacher sometimes accidentally called, "Pissing, please answer." To change this situation, he memorized pi. In the second school year, he prepared to write on the blackboard the number pi to 1,000 digits. Just remembering this sublime number made people open their mouths. Everyone remembered Mr. Pi's new name. Pi's father opened a zoo, and his mother was a botanist. One day, Pi and his brother Ravi sneaked into the zoo. They took a piece of meat to feed the tiger. But when they saw the big beast, Ravi was scared and ran away. However, Pi was not afraid at all. He believes that animals also have souls and will not easily injure people. At this time, the father suddenly appeared. "Stop, what are you doing?" Pi said that he just wanted to make friends with the tiger. But his father said the wild animal was still wildlife. Their nature will make him pay. To let his son understand how scary the tiger is, he put a mountain goat inside the iron door. Then the tiger gradually approached. The mountain goat felt the danger and was immediately grabbed by the tiger. Dad told him that this was the law of survival of wild animals. Pi's spiritual world suddenly collapsed. He always had a faith that in this world there are gods with spirituality. So he was a vegetarian like his mother. At the age of 17, he met a beautiful girl. The feelings of the two people bloomed quickly. But at this time, India had a lot of issues with the zoo. The father decided to bring all animals and migrate to Canada. Pi just had to suppress the pain and split with his girlfriend. He also promised her that he would definitely come back. But God did not give him this chance. The ship was walking at sea when it encountered thunderstorms. Each large wave engulfed the ship for a moment. Seeing the panic, his family wanted to return to help, but he was pushed into a lifeboat by a sailor. At this time, a zebra jumped down from the ship. The lifeboat had just been covered with water waves. Pi hurriedly grabbed the boat. When the boat rose to the surface, the large ship in the distance was starting to sink. He risked his life to blow a whistle to mark the position of the boat for the people to jump down. At this moment, there seemed to be a survivor swimming towards him. Pi hurriedly threw down a life buoy. But when the buoy approached, he discovered it was a tiger. He regretted it and tried to push the tiger back into the water. At this moment, a big wave came and brought the tiger onto the boat. Pi fearfully, firmly clung to the boom column and then stayed on it for a night. When it was bright, Pi discovered that the tiger was not on the boat anymore. He crawled down from the column, just about to rest. Then a hyena prayed out from inside the boat compartment. At this moment, a chimpanzee was sitting on a bunch of bananas drifting towards the boat. Pi was extremely happy. Anyway, the personality of the chimpanzee is also harmonious and not to attack people. He pulled the chimpanzee into the boat. The hyena could not be hungry and started attacking the zebra. The helpless Pi could only give his eyes to the zebra with a shock and was bitten by the hyena. The next day, the cold sea woke him up. Pi understands that if he continues like this, he will soon become the meal of the hyena. He opened the book of life inside the boat. There were also a large number of life jackets. He tied the life jackets with the roof to climb together to make a raft. At this moment, the hyena again started to attack the chimpanzee. Again, it was punched by the chimpanzee. But Pi could not even rejoice. The hyena suddenly jumped up and bit into the neck of the chimpanzee. He shouted loudly, but it did not work. Pi is angry. He took a dagger to make a decision to fight this hyena. Come, come. But soon the tiger tore the hyena. It turned out that the seasick tiger was resting inside the boat. Pi hurriedly pushed the raft into the sea and then he jumped down. The next day, when the tiger was resting, he climbed into the boat to take some rescue items. God once again brought a surprise to him. A barrel full of food also has drinking water. Pi was sobbing and suddenly he discovered there was a mouse on the boat. The cries of the mouse awakened the tiger who was fast asleep. It immediately rushed to attack him. At the time of thousands of pounds hanging, Pi managed to catch the mouse and throw it. Then he took advantage of the opportunity to jump on his life raft. He came to a four-eyed tiger who looked at each other. Pi shed tears of despair. He did not know how long he could persevere. The day of the peaceful beach surface is incredibly strangely like a fairy tale. The washing vase also became the only spiritual support of Pi. He started to learn the content inside the Lifeline notebook, like how to collect delicious water. Then, eat. There is a job to set up your area when living with animals. My area, understand? Mine. The tiger turned around to declare his territorial sovereignty. But Pi was afraid of the thirsty tiger, so he offered the soft drink he collected for it. But only water is not enough forever, because the tiger's eating is very scary. Pi understands that wait until the hungry tiger cannot bear it, it is also the day he dies. To protect his life, he only had fishing to fight hunger for the tiger. But he could not catch the hungry tiger fish, and could not jump into the sea to find food. Seeing his stupid appearance, he could not help laughing. But shortly after that, the tiger swam at him. At the time of thousands of pounds hanging, he jumped on the boat. Then he pulled the raft to the boat again. So the tiger was trapped in the sea. Pi took out the axe to solve this problem. But seeing the poor appearance of the tiger, he was soft. He removed the boat cover as a wooden ladder and threw it into the sea. The tiger has been saved. The next day, he successfully caught a demon face. He took the axe to hit the fish. It was the first time he had killed. The love in his heart almost made him depressed. It is like a friend of his suffering. The sea surface at night is extremely beautiful. Pi cannot control but touch the sea. Suddenly, a giant whale emerged on the water. When the whale dived into the water, it created a wave of support, and the raft was overturned. All food sank to the bottom of the sea. The next day, Pi had just climbed into the saving boat. Countless flying fish flew out of the water and towards them. Shortly thereafter, a green tuna fell into their boat. The tiger was about to eat, but such good food can be ignored? He picked up a wooden stick to struggle with the tiger. Mine, this is mine. The tiger was threatened by Pi's spirit, and Pi also successfully robbed this fish. To survive, he gave up all his faith and opened his mouth to eat meat. The following days, he pointed the wooden stick and began to domesticate the tiger. If you listen, you will have meat. If you don't, you won't. Time gradually drifted away, and the tiger gradually lost its attack. The weather at sea changes erratically every day. A violent storm came again. Seeing the tiger struggling desperately, Pi suddenly screamed at the sky. "Why did you threaten it? I lost my family. I lost everything. I surrendered. What else do you want?" The thunderstorms passed, and the sea surface became peaceful again. At this time, the tiger was scrambling. Pi dropped all his vigilance, placing the tiger's head on his thigh, constantly patting it. He lost everything and had no hope to continue. A tiger kept quietly sitting there, waiting for death to approach. But when Pi opened his eyes, he suddenly saw a small green island. He was extremely hungry and broke the roots and put it in his mouth despite not knowing if it was edible. After eating, he carefully went inside the island. Suddenly, there was a series of small meerkats getting up. They were curious to look at the boy in front of their eyes. But behind them was a clear lake. He did not hesitate to jump down to take a sip of the very large fresh water, also comfortable to wash himself. The tiger also took each mouthful of sand. Strangely, these meerkats are not afraid of death. At night, Pi climbed up the tree to sleep well, but the evil story appeared again. The meerkats gathered in groups and hung on the tree. The tiger also ran towards the boat. Until the sun set, he looked at the lake. All the fish were corroded. He interrupted a flower bud. Inside, there was a human tooth. Pi is aware that this island is not simple. Obviously, a human island. For 3 days, everything is normal. But in the evening, all plants have the ability to rob life. The next day, he picked a large amount of roots to catch a flock of meerkats for the tiger. Continue the journey to their sea. Do not know how long the two of them have been at sea when they met a beach. This time it was not an island, but the Mexican coast. He used his best to drag the boat to the shore, then fell to the beach without moving. While in a panic, he saw the tiger jumping off the boat. Then it let go into the forest. It was only when it came to the edge of the forest that it stopped. Pi said that the tiger was turning his head to look at him. Then it roared to end this survival friendship. Unexpectedly, it did not bother to turn his head and went straight into the forest. This is the fierce friend who helped Pi survive. Since then, it disappeared from his life. When Pi was helped by the rescuer, he could not help cry. Not happy to be saved, but crying. It was because the tiger left so easily that made him heartbroken. These days, he and the tiger also count as brothers and sisters. But at the end, it did not bother to turn around and left him. Pi was then taken to the hospital, because he was the only one who survived in this sea accident. The investigator of the shipping company came to him, asked him about the reason the ship sank. Pi recounted everything in the past 227 days for them, but the investigator found some points impossible. He said the chimpanzee sat on the bananas and drifted to him. But bananas can't float. The investigator felt that the words were a bit unreliable. They told Pi to tell a story that others could believe to be handed over. Pi helplessly only told another version. After the ship encountered a big storm, there were 4 survivors. Chefs and sailors jumped into the lifeboat first. The sailor unfortunately broke his legs. After that, the chef threw the buoy to save Pi, who fell into the water. Pi's mother then hugged a bunch of bananas and climbed into the boat. A few days later, the sailor's legs were not treated, so it was seriously infected. The chef took the reason for saving materials, so he cruelly killed him, then used his meat to fish. The mother was not satisfied with the actions of the chef, so she argued with him, directly gave him a scolding. But the evil chef did not respond. A few days later, because Pi dropped a turtle, he was beaten by the chef. The mother protected her son and got into a controversy with the chef. This time, the chef accidentally killed the mother. To avenge his mother, Pi killed the chef. So after Pi washed up, he spent 227 days alone, successful survival. It is clear that this story of Pi is somewhat more honest. The first time he lied to tell the entire animal story to hide this scary truth. But the second story is still not full of suspicion. Why did the mother scold the chef and the cruel chef did not respond? Because the truth is more terrifying than these two things. The film begins to recount the story. Pi's father, when he was paralyzed, left sequelae and was lame in one leg. So the first person jumped into the boat was not a zebra nor a sailor, but Pi's father. The father in the boat is Pi's family. Because his father's legs were infected, Ravi helped his father's leg. But the father still had too much blood loss and suddenly died. To survive, Ravi took his father's meat as bait. Mom, of course, disagreed and hit Ravi. A mother beating her son, the son, of course, will not fight back. But then, because Pi released a turtle, Ravi beat him. Mom again got into a controversy, and then he accidentally killed his mother. Pi, indignant, so he defeated his brother. But Ravi also, because of love, without responding, committed suicide. Just like Pi, based on these foods to survive. But this is the truth of the following story. When the author interviewed the middle-aged Pi, referring to his girlfriend, he said there was no memory when he broke up with his girlfriend. This is obviously lying. For a person who can remember the number pi to thousands of digits, the loss of this selective memory can hardly make people believe. Pi affirmed to the author that he lost his girlfriend. So the truth is only one. The girlfriend is also on the boat. That is the mouse being eaten by the tiger. And the myths like the island of eating human meat absolutely do not exist. It represents Pi's girlfriend. The easy plants like human blood vessels. There are countless meerkats like a bunch of people. The corrosive aquarium represents the girl's stomach fluid. There is also his girlfriend's teeth. Most people will be willing to accept the first story, because in human nature there is a child. Like in this story, the tiger is saved. Why not turn around? This implies that Pi was washed on the sea for a long time, making him lose humanity and become a wild animal. But once he returned to the civilization of the world, it is required to say goodbye from the deep part of his heart, not to turn around. Only when you understand what is hidden in the film episode, you really understand the scary level of this movie. The movie ends here. What do you think about this movies? Leave a comment below for everyone to know. Thank you for watching, and see you guys in the next videos.